Today, we look at Skype Cloud Recording on a very special episode of the Podcast Report. Now, what we're doing here today is we are recording an episode of the Podcast Report that I'm only going to keep live for 2 weeks. This recording is going to go down after that. If you're listening to this as a podcast, it's going to go down at all the podcast places. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's going to go down at YouTube. It's only going to be up for the 2 weeks or so. We'll take them all down at the same time. I can't promise it'll be exactly 2 weeks, but approximately that. One reason, obvious, this is a topic that is very date intensive, but also there's a larger thing at play here that we're having some fun with as well. That will make sense soon. So wherever you're watching this, I want to let you know that if you're doing the podcast, this is on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, this is on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, this is on the podcast. However you want to do that, go ahead and consume this wherever you want. Now, I hopefully am not going to edit anything. You'll see why soon enough if you're tracking me and what we're doing. But this is Paul Culligan. We're live from Studio T. I promise you in this special episode, no music, etc. But future episodes will certainly have stuff. This is just, again, a very special thing. Makes sense later. Technically, this is episode 150. One of the reasons why we'll be taking this down is that the real 150 that's coming very soon is going to be very special, and you are going to love it. If you are watching this while recording and you have a question that I see about the topic, I will do what I can to answer it live. If it's not about the topic, I won't be able to answer it live and won't even really answer it in the comments. That will make sense again later. Sorry about that. So the topic now, let's get to this. Skype release cloud recording. Podcasters love to use Skype. Podcasters want to know how to make it easy to record Skype. Microsoft turns on cloud recording where we can get on a phone conversation, click a button, record the episode. It's here, it's real, it's working, and I want to chat about that. So a bit of history. Number one, people love Skype. Skype came out at a time when long distance mattered, where, calling someone across the country, that type of thing, or, internationally cost us some money. And it saved a lot of people a lot of money. I remember when I went to college, my folks were overseas and my phone budget was part of my budget. My long distance budget was part of my budget. And Skype came around and did that and fixed that. And a lot of people have Skype in a great place in their heart. A lot of podcasters like to use Skype for recording interviews. You can get good fidelity. One of the things I always say is that when Skype is good, Skype is fantastic. And there were people who were able to make Skype do great things. And when they did that, Skype was fantastic. And it was universal, and it's what people think of. It's like the old, they don't think tissue, they think Kleenex. They don't think copier, they think Xerox. They don't think, delivery service, they think, FedEx. I just got back from a big trip from Europe, dealt with my folks through the very cool Alexa show, did some video conferencing with them there. They called it Skype. Skype is the default for a lot of people. Skype recently got purchased by Microsoft. For some, that's exciting. For me, it kind of terrified me a little bit. Microsoft has not necessarily done well when they have acquired technology from somebody else. And I'm going to have some kind words to say about Microsoft here at the end, don't worry. But the fact of the matter was, when it got acquired, some podcasters got excited. Some podcasters didn't necessarily see it as a good sign. And yesterday, Microsoft turns on Skype recording. And it's actually very good. You click the plus button and you hit cloud record, and everybody gets a notice that they're recording in the cloud. And it's plug and play. It's very, very easy to use. To be honest with you, it's better than a bridge line recording. In my book, How to Podcast, I talk about just getting a bridge line recording. I've got clients who do that. It definitely records audio better than that. When it comes to, accessibility, most smartphones have decent mics and you can put Skype on them. One of the big tests I did yesterday was iOS device to iOS device. There are some great microphones that will plug into these things. It's pretty easy to do. It takes the recording, it stores it in the cloud, it gives everyone access to it. Pretty cool. It does video, very cool. And because it's cloud-based, it's the type of thing where we have the possibility to get better over time. It just turned on. I read about it. I'm like, oh man, I tried to find the new version of Skype and it wasn't available. And I was a little bit frustrated. But it turns out that because it's in the cloud, I'm able to actually just get it and access it from there. So good stuff. Thank you, Microsoft. Because it's cloud-based, they can make it better. They might be improving it right now. There might be a better version of it that comes out right now. I don't know. Kind of funny, it's not available on Windows yet, which is funny because it's Microsoft who purchased them, and Microsoft is doing that, which is hilarious to me, but there it is. It seems to record better than Google Hangouts. A number of podcasters have used Google Hangouts to record podcasts in the past. It seems to record better than that. Many podcasters have been doing their shows on that. It doesn't have the broadcast capabilities like Google Hangouts has, but if you're recording something, for later editing and that kind of thing, it's pretty good. And long and short, the last and the good, it is a pretty, I don't know if I want to say impressive, but it is a fine / good first attempt at making this happen. So let's chat about the bad. This is very important. Number one, the bad. It records it mono. It records it in one track. Everything's recorded, the same. Two people are talking over each other. There's no way to fix that. Now, that's the same thing for Google Hangouts. That's the same thing for a bridge line. That's the same thing for a number of things. So isn't necessarily a negative to Skype Cloud Recording itself, but we'll chat about that in a second. It's not the highest bit rate. It's not the highest quality for the video or the audio. I can't remember if I mentioned this in the good list or not, but it does do video. The bad news is it's not the full screen. It actually records them side by side, so you have to be centered and you have to take a look at it. And again, that makes editing hard. There's some other options out there, which again, I'll chat about, that makes it possible to get the full screen from somebody and make a better edit and get different tracks for the different people presenting to make a better edit. But there we go. And finally, I hate to say this, but it's Microsoft and it's Skype. Skype has always been fantastic when Skype works. And Microsoft has always been fantastic when they work. It's just not something that you can always count on. And it's not something that you can always consider. And you don't necessarily have a backup. And when you've got the person you are interviewing, when you have the opportunity to do a show for you and for your audience, set things up so things go well. The opinion, as of September 6, 2018, when I recorded this, I think you have better options. Thanks, Microsoft. Press it first try, but I think you have better options. So let's chat to the options. What options do you have? Really, in my opinion, there's only one option. It's from a company called Ecamm Network. You can look it up. Call Recorder for Skype is their product. It's $40. It's Mac only. Let's chat about that for a second. What about us Windows users? I have not found a product anywhere close. And I know the skeptical might say, well, Paul, of course, you're a Mac guy. You're an Apple nerd. Of course, you wouldn't find anything on Windows. Well, the fact of the matter is I have a number of clients. We have a number of people who pay us decent checks, great checks, actually, that have Windows machines that have been looking for a recording option. And again, none of them even come close to Ecamm. What I recommend for people, if, I say Ecamm's $40, they say, what if you have a PC? Buy a $600 Mac Mini and then go from there. Ecamm splits the tracks. Ecamm gives you the different options. They can do video. They can do audio only. They can do uncompressed. They can do compressed. Lots of options. And again, I don't know a Windows thing that comes close. So if you have to record from Skype, I definitely recommend, and I cannot recommend strong enough, the Ecamm software. And it's not because, I've met the team. I like them. They seem cool enough. But again, you're recording content. Give it the best possible recording that you can, and you go from there. Before we close up, a big picture idea. It's not that complicated. It should be pretty obvious, but sometimes as podcasters, we confuse the tech with the content. There have been a lot of products out there that have claimed to answer the recording problem, and I don't want to mention any of them by name, but the problem is none of them have been stable enough to put into production. And I think it's really important that we as podcasters, when we put things into production, we find something stable enough. Right now, my favorite remote recording option is either, depending on the tech of the audience, either the bridge line, which again, the audio is never that good, but it's kind of fail-safe, or do Skype with the Ecamm recording. And then there's these other platforms out there that people love, but they crash and there's problems. And if you're a podcaster, you know what I'm talking about. I've tried all of them and I haven't been able to find anything. And it's because, or anything is good. And I think it's sometimes because us podcasters, we tend to confuse the tech with the content. Don't use the cool tech. Create the content and use the tech that makes the most sense to create the content that we're doing. So, Microsoft, thank you for this first start. I hear that you're hearing us. I hear that you're there. Ray Ortega, I know that you've been in communication with them, trying to give them some hints and tips. A while ago on Twitter, you asked what we wanted. Two specific things that I asked for was, high bit rate, which we don't have, and splitting the tracks, which we don't have. Again, first attempt. This can change at any time. So thank you, Ray, for dealing with Microsoft. Thank you, Microsoft, for listening to the audience. Ray Ortega recently tweeted, and I'm just going to quote the whole thing, given the team working on this a lot of podcast-specific feedback, and it will improve for those needs. The key thing from what I know is to give helpful feedback. Ask for what is needed in place of complaining about what is wrong with it. That's kind of what I tried to do here. Hopefully, Ray, I did you well. I think the big thing is split the tracks and bring up the bit rate. Microsoft, if you're listening, I'd love to chat. Ray knows how to get a hold of me. If you rather go direct, the podcast report at outlook.com is the other way to go from there. That's it. Short, special episode of the podcast report. Just a little over 10 minutes long. It'll be up for a couple of weeks, and then we'll take it down. There'll be a very special episode of 150 coming just slightly after that. That should change some things. Skype Cloud Recording is out. It works. It's functional. It's just not ready for podcaster prime time. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.